the Hershey and Keegs Show.
Welcome to Hershey and the Keegs Show, starring pitcher Mark Hirschman and his personal catcher, Mike Keegan. Every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. live from the Governor's Comedy Club radio studio. Thanks so much for listening. Welcome.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday night, 9 p.m. That means it's the Hershey and the Keegs Show. Grab your butts and drop your nuts. We're going to have some fun. We have a great episode tonight. Hey, Mark.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great.
You're dropping your butts and grabbing your nuts tonight?
Dropping my butts.
I love it. We have, listen, this episode's been as hyped, and we've had national celebrities, comics, radio people, actors, but for some reason, this particular episode is drawing the most attention, controversy, whatever you want to call it. We are more than delighted to have Levittown legend, Hirschman family friend and neighbor, none other than my dear friend, Suzanne Galina. Welcome, Suzanne. What is going on with you?
My house burned to the ground.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So we're just gonna go right there.
Oh, my God.
That's it, huh? You're just gonna go right with that. Your house burned to the ground. We're not gonna do any small talk, no chatter. Just right there.
Right to the ground.
Right to the ground. It burned right to the ground. Okay. So, it's interesting, and people are not aware of this, and I did try to put it out there today, but we had booked you. Mikey had come up with the idea back over a month ago. He had said, I think that she's done enough to merit an opportunity on the show.
She's my
I
mom.
think I actually had an opportunity to defend my deaf grandparents.
Right.
So
That's
that
right.
that you
Audio's
needed
good,
to come
Mike?
in for.
Yeah. Audio's
Because I
good,
trashed her
sure.
deaf grandparents, but
they didn't hear you, so it was fine.
So
Suzanne's been my mole, my Levittown mole, to see all the dumb shit that she
Right.
sends me all the dumb shit that Mark does all the time.
So that's really how the evolution of this. So people are like, wow, her house burned down and they're bringing her on the show. That's not true at all. She was booked back in September. October 22nd is the date that we had booked her. One of the first things she said as I literally stood next to her watching her house burn to the ground was, this doesn't mean I'm not going to be on the show, does it? And I was like, I don't see any reason why. I mean, if there's anything like you're not
definitely
living.
didn't have anything to do.
Yeah, there was exactly. You had no plans.
Well,
so
I will tell you, Mark one day was just like, she's coming on the show. It's great. Is there anything we could do to make the interview super interesting? Like, let's burn down her friggin' house.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was
Because
all.
you're mad because you weren't invited to his party.
Exactly.
Mikey gets when he finds out that we do something across the street, whether it's a driveway or a fire pit, which is we're not going to be doing anymore. Probably, he's like, Carla will send me a message. She'll be like, Mikey would have liked to have been there.
Yeah. And I was not invited to your birthday party at Suzanne's house.
Right.
We
That's
did have
true.
a driveway party. My house was on fire, and you still weren't invited.
You were in North Carolina though, with all.
I was on a plane.
Yeah. And then the next day, Mikey texted me. He's like, "I know Sue's house burned down. A lot of people were there, but you didn't call me." And I'm like, "I didn't think of it. I'm sorry. I was already in my early stages of trauma at the time.
Severe trauma.
But so we're gonna start the show by just tackling what is the main subject in Sue's house and in my house with Stacy and all of us. Obviously, we're all very close with Sue's husband Johnny and her kids and my kids. So let's talk about this, Sue, from the top. Let's you're asleep. It's 2:07 in the morning. What happens? Just tell us. Just tell us black and white of it.
Okay, so I was sleeping, and my dogs were growling, and I honestly thought there was a home invasion. My husband was away. People know I'm alone.
Yep.
And they kept growling and growling. I heard stuff. I heard noise, not familiar. I got up, went to check, opened my door, went down my hallway, lifted the shade, and there was a wall of orange.
Oh, my God.
Flames and I'm on the second floor. So it was from the floor to the ceiling, not to be confused from the windows
To the wall. Right. That's different.
That's later.
Yes.
But the floor to the ceiling, I turned around, went to my daughter's bedroom, which was, right there, opened the door, and I calmly said to her, G, you got to get up. The house is on fire. And she's like, what? I'm like, you got to get up. The house is on fire.
Okay.
I go in the room. I get my son, who Mark and I share custody of,
Right.
Nino.
Right. He was he had a weekend at his home that weekend.
Right. So I got him out of bed. We go to the top of the stairs. I was like, we have to go down the stairs together. G, you got to stay in front of me. We start to go down the stairs. I say to her, do not open the door. She heard open the door. She opened the door.
What door did she open?
The front door. Because if you're in a cape, that door is right in front of your
so you guys were down the stairs, and then she opened up the front door, and the fire was in the front left of the house at the time. Okay.
It was the whole front of the house.
Yes.
I mean, she opened it so small.
Yeah.
But enough where it kind of burned her lip a little bit, and some of the embers
and I
got
saw
on
her arm was burned a little bit too.
And then she shut the door immediately. We went to the back of the house.
Yes.
My dogs were still with me. Back of the house, got out. I was holding Nino's hand. Went out the front gate. I have a self-closing gate because I have a pool. So the dogs were locked in the backyard. I told my kids, run to Mark's house. I couldn't see my in-laws. They lived right next door to me. I couldn't see their house. The flames were just too big. So, I said, run to Mark's house. Mm-hmm. And they ran across the street. And I said, gee, just bang on his door. He will wake up. He sleeps downstairs. He'll definitely wake up.
I was definitely downstairs
definitely
on the couch watching ESPN. I had just fallen asleep.
Horse racing or something.
Yes, exactly. So, Australia racing.
She's banging on the door. He comes out.
Quick.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Mark sprung to action.
Yeah.
Quick for Mark, and then
was he wearing?
At that
was he in
point,
his
I was
underwear?
already
I was in shorts, idiot.
Okay.
I was already banging my own fence down to get my dogs out, and then he ran over to assist with my 2 dogs coming out of the fence, which is when he got his severe injury.
Right.
And he'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. Yeah.
I had to go through my fence, get my little dog that was hiding, come back out. And then I crossed the street, and I think the first thing I said to him was, I peed my pants entirely.
Yes.
I need underwear.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And ironically, I did too. But
luckily, Mark was wearing women's underwear.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we got her situated, and other people came at some point. But certainly, so we got the 2 little kids. Johnny, Sue's husband, and Luca, the oldest son, who's Max's buddy, were away. They were fishing in Montauk.
How'd they do?
Yeah, no, they're still there. They didn't need to come back. They thought everything was all set. No, they were there. Stacy was away in Chicago. We got the 2 little kids situated. Then I went back with her. I don't know at what point, but she had kicked the fence down. She had kicked like a couple of panels out of the vinyl fence, which I was like, how the fuck did this
Hopefully
happen?
Insurance covers that.
Yeah. That was what we were concerned about at the time. That was a concern. So I'll tell the story that so Sue was like, she blasted back in, went in to get the little dog, and the 2 big dogs were like, they didn't have their leashes, so I just had to grab them by the collar, and they were like going fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So I was just grabbing, and it was just like, like 2 wild horses, And
Like you're used to that.
Yeah, exactly. But so the funny thing is, so I got them back across the street, but Hanky Panky was like twisting around, and by the time that we had gotten to my house, to the front yard, my middle finger was like twisted in the thing. I'm like, I'm gonna lose a digit in this fucking incident.
My God.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah. So,
okay, thank
but
God.
obviously in the scheme of things, not a major thing. But the funny thing is, the next day we were back at Sue's house when Stacy was home and Johnny and Luca were home, and we were over there, and I was telling Deanna, one of our friends, about the incident, and I didn't know that Sue was listening. And in retrospect, how ridiculous is it that I'm telling the story of my potentially lost finger? And I never knew that Sue heard the thing. And then the next day, she's like, I heard you were telling the story about you might need a Purple Heart because of the fact that you almost possibly lost some circulation in your middle finger.
You're like Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so in the middle of that, Sue was screaming. I called 911. And it's so funny how things, you don't realize what's happening at the time, but it's now so distinct in my mind that I was yelling to them 28, the address of the house, and I was yelling, and she kept on saying, "What's the cross street?" And I'm like, "Don't you have fucking Google Maps?"
I don't think they do that anymore.
Speaking of Google Maps, do you know that they drove around the neighborhood today?
Oh, did they
For
really?
pictures, and I'm like,
Really? Oh my God.
do you know what my house looks like?
But why would they say...
If I Google Maps your house right now, is it just a...
It was like a black dungeon.
Yeah, right?
Can I just say, though, aren't we to a point now where we don't need to ask when you're watching a homebound... can't they figure that out?
They should know as soon as they answer the phone where the call's coming from.
Right there.
But I said the address. I said it's right off of Hempstead Turnpike. She's like, tell me the cross street. And I'm like, bitch, I don't fucking know.
Like a switchboard operator from
understand.
1972?
Like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Sue has thought about this, but there was like 4 minutes where it was utter silence in the street, other than the dogs were barking, and it was just the sound of the house on fire.
yeah.
But there was nobody had come out
It
yet.
was just us.
Nobody knew what was going
Yeah, it
on.
was just us.
And then certainly within 4 minutes, I think it was 4 hours. We just waited there with marshmallows.
You're right.
And
That's
singing
why it
Kumbaya.
burned, because it was 4 hours.
Yeah, it's too long.
It was actually
Too
just a
long.
little
That
paper
is
fire.
too
It was
long.
nothing.
Yeah, it was
and then they waited for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But within 4 minutes, you had trucks from Wantagh, East Meadow, Bethpage, Levittown, or what was
East
it?
Meadow.
Yeah. Was that the first or the second fire?
Oh, so you can go ahead and tell that part as far as how long you think it took for the first fire to go out. And
I want to say like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, and it was like the front of the
it was
house.
it was roaring.
It was
Tony, you
wild.
wanna,
I've never seen anything like it.
Tony's going to pop a picture up right now of this is the first wave of the fire. You can see it over here on the
Yeah.
screen. It's going to be up there in a second.
Yeah, that's Luca's room.
That's,
lucky him. He wasn't home,
and he
and
wasn't
all his
home, which
possessions
is like
are fine.
Yeah,
Holy
which is
shit.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you figure like by 4 o'clock, I think all of the
AM.
4 a.m. and the block was filled with, I would say, 20 fire trucks, ambulances, ladies auxiliary fire department
God
with
the ladies
setting up
auxiliary.
donuts, setting up.
People
I mean,
picking out of the trash.
yeah, it was.
You know, like they definitely come around to pick up out of the trash. You
Yeah.
know, like the can people.
Yeah, there's just no question about it.
Yeah.
So I guess around 4 o'clock or 4:30 maybe, it seemed like things started to calm down, and at one point all of the trucks were gone.
Gone.
There was nobody on the block anymore
None.
except us, like, you know, the
Right.
neighbors and whoever else. And then someone starts screaming, I think it was, "Where's Joe?" That's her father-in-law, Johnny's
Right.
dad. And we didn't know where he was, and we were literally, because he's a handy guy, he maybe want to get involved in
Yeah,
fixing
right,
something
yeah.
or helping. And then we noticed that the back of the house is fully engulfed in flames
Yeah,
again.
bad.
Not just a little
No,
fire,
it
like
was
the whole
worse.
back of the house
was
was
worse.
firing flames at the back. And they were yelling, "Where's Joe? Where's Joe?" And it turns out that he was in his own backyard with his hose, shooting it to the.
He was.
He was shooting it at the
He
fire.
said that if he didn't do that,
Right.
that it wouldn't have been saved.
Right.
Hey, thank God for Joe. And
They
his,
had like
So-
a cherry picker truck with a hose
Right.
that wasn't enough.
thank God for Joe and the sprinkler setting on his hose. That happened.
Actually
That
on the
happened.
jet stream.
He had
That
it on the
happened with
jet
my
stream.
neighbor.
Yeah.
It was 4th of July, and a firework hit their side of their house and like went under the paneling and
Yeah.
started a fire. Next thing I know, my dad was there with a hose. I'm like, that's like a real fire. I don't think a regular garden hose.
And their
would
house
do it.
went
I
up.
mean,
Yeah.
You gotta try it. It didn't go up like
Oh.
it was like it went right up to like the
So it's
brick.
actually not the same.
It's
not
not.
the
It's not
same
exactly.
thing.
No, it's
Yeah. It's
exactly
not
the
even-
same. Like I
yeah.
know what you're
Terrible.
going through
Yeah,
because
okay.
I know exactly what you're going through. My
Mike knows what
my
you're going
neighbor
through
lost a
because-
half a piece of siding.
Because Mike's friend had a Roman candle that went off.
But no, I was just saying, like my dad was there with the hose. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not
They
really.
lost all their possessions. It's exactly
Right.
the same.
Right. Sue's been wearing the same clothes for the past 11
I
days.
am. I just keep changing
Right.
the outside shirt.
Yeah. I'm like, you have a lot of black leggings, Sue. My God. So they came back. They put out fire number 2. There was another 12 trucks back. That was probably, by the time they were gone, it was light out, I remember.
Yeah,
it was
it
like
was.
7 o'clock in the morning, and then we were good. So we thought, I went back into the house, my house, and I actually like fell asleep for like 15 or 20 minutes. And I forgot that the whole fucking time Max was upstairs sleeping. He never came down.
Never came the whole time.
He never
No,
came
never.
down.
Never.
Really?
So I
Not once.
purposely, so what I purposely did was I pulled all the shades down when he came in, so he didn't like see what was happening. And he just tapped on my shoulder and he's like, "What the fuck was all that barking last night?" Because I had not just my 2 dogs, but I had her 3 dogs in the
dogs,
house
right.
and all the kids.
Yeah.
So there was the barking was raging for hours.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, "You didn't think to come down at
Yeah,
all?"
yeah.
He's like, "Nah, I heard a lot of barking." And so I didn't really know what to say. I'm like, everyone's fine, but Johnny and Sue's house was burned to the ground. And he's like, "What?" And he pulled the shade down. Now, my son is as white as a ghost as it is. And then
Yeah.
somehow he became whiter
Yeah.
when he saw this.
Yeah.
And he's thinking like
Powder.
all of the the meals that he's eaten in that house and all of the toys that he's played with and everything else.
He's like, shit.
He's
I'm
like,
not gonna have any
Yeah,
food
right,
for like
like,
the next year.
So he's like, is there anything saved? And I'm like, bro, it's all roached. It's gone. Totally all gone.
It's like, Luca, what about all of your Jordans?
All his sneakers, everything. And then I guess around that time, Johnny and Luca came back, and I had to tell you, I was super proud of Johnny. It must have been the most horrifying thing to get that phone call and then have to drive back from Montauk.
Yeah, you got to feel helpless driving
he
back.
didn't get a phone. He came back when the fire was out.
No,
twice.
but what happened was there was no reception where he was.
Right.
So people were calling his phone like crazy. And I kept on telling people, please send him text messages so the first thing he sees is everyone is okay. Because if you wake up at 5 in the morning in Montauk to 97 missed calls, you're thinking that something, you're thinking your house went on fire.
I did call and say, don't rush home.
Yeah.
You know, please take your time. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So, and he had a trailer with him.
Yep.
So he's like, okay, well, I still have to hook up the trailer and put air in the tires. I was like, okay, well, I told you not to rush, but, you know.
And we have a half a day of fishing.
He's like, there's a lot of trout in these waters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, he didn't.
I see the striped bass are jumping.
He came back and he was like, you know what? Thank goodness it's his personality because he was cool as a cuke. And
First thing
and
he said,
Luca was
how's
good.
Mark's finger?
He was worried
He
about
did.
the circulation issue, and then I think at some point your sister was like, I think there's fire again, and then it was smoking again.
Yeah.
The house went on
John looked at it and he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I think they just said it goes out and, you know, can just
smolder.
smoke.
Yeah.
And then it was up the third time.
But it didn't. It didn't engulf though at that point, right?
No, it was just still in the walls.
Yeah, it was still in the walls. But, you know, by 7 or 8
Kurt
o'clock
Russell.
in the morning, the house was, you know, it's amazing how I guess all the people who are in rescue and fire repair and everything, they all have scanners. So by 7 o'clock in the morning, there were people with boards ready to board up the house.
Scammers or scanners?
Well, that's for you to say. I don't know.
Right.
You dealt with them, but there was a lot of different companies
Vultures.
and organizations that were
Yeah.
there, and they were bidding essentially on the
Yeah.
lawn
Wow.
for
Yeah, shit.
Oh,
for
yeah.
the services.
They
Yeah, so
want-
Sue would know that better than me. I don't know.
I don't know any of that. I actually hired a friend that was there,
Yeah.
Vanessa, to deal with those people.
Right.
They just would keep coming. Oh, someone was like, I
Carpetbaggers,
know-
I believe they call
Yeah,
them.
they're like, oh, I know your sister. And I'm like, oh, really? What's her name? And then they would tell me her name, and I'm like, wrong.
wow.
Wrong. You know, it was just like trying to find me on
crazy.
social media and stuff.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Animals.
So by the time, let's just say you rolled up at 9 o'clock, you would have seen the house fully boarded at that point.
Yeah.
There was a fence put around the house. Everything was
Locked.
pretty much locked, like you couldn't get in there. And then I guess it was like 10 o'clock. Sue and I were out in the front just kind of like staring, like,
Yeah,
what do you
just-
do at that point?
Right. We were
you
just
know,
trying to like remember because I think for us, we were in it and not
Yeah.
everybody else was.
Yeah, we were just trying to process, and then as we're there, as happens every single Saturday morning for the past 20 years, Sue's landscaper rolls up to the house, and there's like 10 Latino guys just come out,
Okay.
and they like, you know, they have like their weed whackers and they have their lawn mowers and everything, and one guy walks up right to the fence where Sue and I were, and he's like, "Hey, you want cut today?" So Sue and I we're looking around, we're like,
You want edging?
well, like the fucking lawn is covered with burnt mattresses.
Yeah.
Where are
My
you gonna
son's
cut?
furniture, but I was like, could you do by the hydrant? It's a little bit messed up there.
I'm like, where are you gonna cut? There's like literally there's blankets and.
Oh, I put down seed. I put down seed.
Yeah.
Of,
We'll fix
yeah,
I'm
we
like,
fix,
I
we
don't.
fix.
I think we're gonna skip this week.
Yeah.
I think we can.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll prune next week.
yeah.
Right.
I aerate.
Yeah.
It was
nice.
really. It was out of. It was just fucking crazy.
Oh, man.
Sue has been blessed, and Johnny has been blessed, and luckily they've been pillars of the community for a long time. So they've had a lot of people with the GoFundMe, and they've been getting calls. And Sue literally will just be at the door, and someone will be knocking, and I'll be like, "Just want to drop off this Chili's gift card."
Yeah.
And
I live around the block next to your sister's friend who I went to high school with
Right.
in, 1989.
right.
She told me through this one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here, and I'm like, thanks.
Well, the interesting thing is, and this is a very interesting dynamic with Facebook, but one lady had reached out to Sue. Sue, I think, like took a ballet class with at Nancy's Dance Factory in like '84, and she's like, "I know your kid has a tournament in Connecticut this weekend. You want me to take them?" And she's like, "You have 6 DWIs. You have like what?
Yeah.
Like
You're on a sex offender list.
You've been on ketamine for like a year.
Right.
But yeah, that'll help.
But you know what? Let me take your number down because I might need someone. Yeah.
Really, it's just incredible. And people, I have to say, people have been bringing over lovely food dishes.
Yeah.
I went over the other day. Me and Stacy had walked over, and we, like very frequently there's events at either Johnny and Sue's or Diane next door, and they always have like New Year's, Christmas. So there's always a lot of food, and it's like cooked Italian food, really good stuff. So Stacey,
like for your birthday?
Oh, my birthday was a prepared party just for me. Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
But so we go over there, and I said to Stacey, "All right, let's grab a plate." And Diane, Sue's mother-in-law, was like, "No. All these trays, you're taking them home with you." And I'm like, "Damn, this is unbelievable."
Max is like, "All right, not so bad after all."
He's like, "Max, go home and play with matches."
Yeah. No, so I
Yeah, right.
So I walk, as I'm walking out of the house, I literally have like a tub of like French dressing. I have a big antipasto. I have chicken parmesan. I have like all these things. And Johnny and his dad Joe are sitting like watching TV, and I look at them, I'm like, this fire's not working out too bad.
Once again, Mark makes out like a bandit to somebody else's tragedy.
Yeah.
They had a laugh. But it's been like, it's certainly nice that the community has really, and Sue, you can talk about it. I mean,
100%.
Yeah.
I just, listen, I'm born and bred here.
Yeah.
I could have left. I didn't. I'm still here.
Yeah.
It's an odd and strange feeling to be on the receiving end of helping. I'm usually the helper.
Right.
So just for that alone, a huge thank you to everyone who has called, text, dropped by. By the way, if I didn't get your text, it's because my phone was melted. But know that the commercial is true. You can give your phone in any condition. Mm-hmm. They took my melted phone with the cord in it.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Yeah, right. He did ask if it was hot. I said no.
Yeah.
But they did take that. But, just a huge thank you to the community, schools.
What did they do? Was it Lucas School where he walked in and they were like, "Here's your new laptop.
Yep.
Here's your new this, that, your books,
everything." Before he even went to class, my daughter is an all-star cheerleader. She's on a world's team, and I want to say within like 4 to 6 hours, she was fully outfitted.
Wow.
From her gym. And her cheer family.
All
so
new
shout
merch,
out to Platinum Athletics Cheer in Wantagh.
Pack kills it, man. They're the best. Absolutely.
You couldn't have asked for a better organization. And on top of that, Levittown Pride Football gave, so much. The families, everything. He had full gear, my little Nino. He was ready to play. My kids were back in action like within days. And it's so overwhelming, the outpouring of love that you've received. There's a few people that, we have lists. There's a few people, I'm going to write them down.
You don't even have to write them down. You know who they are.
Max Herschman.
Forever.
Yeah. No, Max Herschman, who couldn't even leave his bed.
He knows how much Maxie loves the family, and he made sure he showed his face, and
But
you count your
great.
It makes you count your blessings and realize
what happened originally was people were reaching out and they were asking Sue like, does Nino need this? Does he need that? And she's like, we have nothing. Yeah. Nino has his underpants that he was wearing. Yeah. Literally, that's all he was wearing, and like a triple extra large sweatshirt from like the next door neighbor.
Yeah, literally,
like he had
and a blanket.
Nothing.
Yeah, he had
so
nothing. Do you think I can get this for Nino for Christmas? Does he have it already? I'm like, well, even if he did, he doesn't now.
That's right. Just anything that you possibly can think
of,
just send it over.
Right.
Send it over.
Right.
Does Nino have? No, he doesn't.
Doesn't have it. I do have to make a confession, and I didn't tell this to Sue at the time, but on Sunday I went over. Me and Stace went over. I think it was it to get food again? I think it might have been. But I was bringing back the Tupperware. That's what it was.
See, Mark always brings the Tupperware back. Yeah. You know why? Because then he knows he gets more Tupperware.
Exactly.
That's how that works.
So, here, I want to refill.
That's
why he brings the Tupperware
sketchy
back.
About giving you that one piece of Tupperware. Did you notice it was old? And I was like, no, don't worry about it.
No,
Mark
I got
it.
It could have been stained with orange. I wouldn't have given a fuck about it.
He'll always give it back because he knows he gets more.
I'm getting more. Yeah. But I went into the house and I needed like 10 minutes with Sue just to kind of go over some things just about the show. You know how I'm neurotic, Mike, and I wanted to go over kind of the format and what we're going to talk about. And so I walk into the kitchen, and Diane's like, just sit down. She'll be here in a second. And there's a fresh, unopened box of Entenmann's, those little chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, tell me you brought them tonight.
So who did?
Tell me you brought them tonight.
No, I didn't bring them, you dummy. So I sit down in the kitchen, and Susie comes in. She's like, "Oh, you brought cookies?" And like for a very quick second, I'm like, she has no idea if I brought these cookies or not. There's so many things here, and I almost said I did just because I felt like I should bring something.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, someone's gonna confess to these cookies.
Yeah. You're gonna look real bad.
We snacked on cookies, and we made the plan.
Those are my favorite cookies. You could have saved a couple.
They're so good.
They're
You
the
can
best.
just keep like popping them like chips.
Sue's been getting a lot. For anyone who knows Sue's real close friends, Dee Flynn and Chris Flynn and anyone, Sue, her maiden name is Bailinson, and sometimes she likes to bail is the little play on words with her. And she was saying the other day that like you can literally ask her for plans for the next 10 years, and she has a built-in, like, Sue, can you come to my daughter's communion? No,
she's got a
fire.
Rolodex.
My house went on fire.
No, right,
Sue,
exactly.
Sue, the fire was 11 years ago. Yeah, but sorry.
I still don't have clothes.
Trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma. Not going to
PTSD.
I'm not going to make this.
Post-traumatic
Don't have
Down
any
syndrome.
It's 2037 though. You
Yeah.
can't come to the communion? No.
Did we
No.
even mention that, like, when that whole thing happened, at some point? So first of all, I forgot to tell you, the underwear that you folded that was blue that you thought was Stacy's was actually mine.
Yeah, I got
Whoa,
that. I
Okay.
got that. Yeah.
Okay. Because I needed new underwear.
Right, yeah.
And then I ended up with my neighbor's underwear on.
Huh.
So that was weird. And then Stacy was like, "Here's your pajama pants." I'm like, "I know I had really good underwear with them too." And she's
No,
like, "Oh,
I-
wait, are those the blue underwear?"
I don't know.
That's
I
on my
didn't.
bed?
I watched the wet pants though. I knew right from the beginning. I watched those because I wanted you to have some sense of normalcy. So what happened
You
was
washing my pants? There's
just to-
nothing
to
normal.
give- No, not. I'm like, this is gonna make her feel
I
right at home.
want you to feel normal, so the
Right.
weird neighbor's going to wash your
Right.
pants and fold your
Right.
underwear.
This
and
is
not
gonna,
even give them back.
I'm just gonna sleep with these for a few days so Sue feels normal. No, what happened was there was a lot of stuff. There was like literally like clothes strewn on my lawn, and then you were yelling about I peed myself. So I just threw stuff in the laundry, and then I folded it, and then like I walked it back to you. I'm like, maybe this was a little bit awkward, this whole situation. I don't know. But
Excuse me, but I have to give Sue back her pants.
Sue back-
Stacy, I'll be right home. I have to give Sue her underwear
Stacey's
back.
like, I didn't know
Well,
it was underwear that was on
listen.
my back.
Poor Stacy. So what happened was Stacy was in
Oh, my poor
Chicago
Stacey
running in the
girl.
marathon, and I didn't want to start calling her and
No.
texting her because why wake her up in the middle of the night for this? But someone who didn't know that Stacy was in Chicago
Yeah.
had texted her at 2:30 in the morning.
And this is the night before she was going to run?
This
or
was
she ran?
2 days before.
Yeah.
She went on Friday. The race
She
was Sunday.
left Friday night.
I took her to the airport, came home, and this all happened a couple hours later.
Yeah, he was with me.
Yeah, so basically what happened
like
was
Hey.
she had gotten a text message at 2:30 in the morning saying, "Is everything okay on your block?" And then when I finally spoke to her in the morning, I'm like, fuck, I didn't even think that someone would think to contact her. So certainly once I told her that what happened, and she got upset, obviously, and I'm sure in her mind she thought about wanting to come home because she's very close with Sue and Johnny and the kids. And Sue, I don't know if you spoke to her or texted
I did,
her, but
I texted her.
just to say, please,
I said, you have
we
to
need
stay
you
there and you have to run.
and she did, and
You have to
and
stay
it was
there and you have
tough,
to
and
run.
she did it, and she ran great, and I mean, coming home would have been obviously.
I mean,
would've-
she definitely ran like there was some kind of fire under her belt.
yeah,
but-
she did a great job, but it was just the whole thing was nuts that she was away, Johnny and Luca was away, and it was just me and my lost circulation finger and
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne and the kids, and it was just a crazy thing, and now they're going to rebuild, and they're going to be okay, and things
Mike
are going
still won't
to
be invited to parties.
I'm still.
Wow, it's interesting. People are already pining
Oh, they already
for
know.
the party
They
of
already
all
know.
parties.
They want.
I was
That's probably why I'm getting like so many randos.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
They know.
Yeah, I was looking at my when I got the text. I got your text Saturday at 11 a.m. telling me what
What did I
happened.
say? I was out of my mind, dude. I could be honest
Yeah,
with
just
you.
letting you know in case you see it on the news, everybody's okay. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And
Yeah.
I saw that, and then he's like, including their children and dogs themselves. But the Galina's house burned to the ground last night. It's all over the news, but everyone is fine.
I mean, the
Yeah.
roof was on
And
fire.
I said, holy shit, what the WTF happened?
Oh yeah, Yeah,
I said, weren't you there?
He was.
you know what? I just wanted to. I wanted people who were going to see it on Facebook to know that I was letting you know that they're good. Like that was the first
Yeah.
thing I was saying to everyone, that Johnny and Luca and Sue and Nino
Well, Johnny
and
and Luke were
Juliana,
definitely good.
Yeah, but still, like, I'm sure that Johnny and Luca are having their own trauma that they weren't there.
Luca walked
you know?
up to the house and said the most Luca-ish things.
Right. Why don't you tell us what Luca
So Luca
things
walked
were?
up to the house and he's like, "Wow, I really would have been fucked if I was home." I was like,
He's a very smart kid.
"Yes,
Yeah.
he would have." He's like,
He's a
"Well, I
very
have
smart
all my
kid.
things with me that I like."
That's good.
Okay, great.
And his fishing rod.
Lucky you.
And his fishing rod.
You sent me the picture of the dogs at your house.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Your
That's
dogs
crazy.
and Mark's dogs.
They were-
I don't know if.
Yeah,
it was
that's
on there,
actually.
but-
I should have sent you that, Tone. I'm sorry, I didn't think of that.
I wrote back. I said, "Thank God the dogs are okay."
Yeah, dogs were good. It's interesting you just mentioned things that were important to Luca. So for anyone who doesn't know, Luca's a very sensitive kid, and he loves his dogs. And I didn't know this until you told me this yesterday. But years ago, Bella and Buki, the two black dogs, they passed around the same time, and I had printed out a picture of Bella, and it was in Luca's room. And go ahead and tell the story about that, Sue.
Well, I went in the back of my house yesterday just to look. I mean, it's horrifying. And I panned the entire room, and then I stopped and I went, "Holy shit. Mark spent so much money on like a $1.99 picture frame." Like he
Dollar
really
Tree.
went out of his way.
Yeah.
And
It was the
right on
picture,
the
though,
wall
that you guys
was
loved.
the picture that we love so much of my Bella girl. And it was just like right there, untouched, not melted, just like there. Like
So
it was.
picture the room being totally taken over in flames, and this plastic picture frame with a paper Walgreens printout photo 8x10 was not
Wow.
not
No.
scathed
There was a lot
whatsoever.
of weird things that weren't
Yeah.
touched.
So I had forgotten about this, and then again, a lot of shit kind of comes back. But a few hours before all this went down, I had
Mark
stopped
was
over.
overeating.
I don't even think I was. I don't know. I was over at the house,
Pizza.
and Sue told me that the last picture that was on her camera before it went on fire was a picture that she had taken of her and I in her kitchen. So that's the last picture that was taken in her kitchen before the fire happened a couple hours later. And then the next picture is her kitchen a few hours later.
In the same spot.
That's the same
It's
spot
so
right there.
funny because
Yeah.
not funny, but like you had sent me that picture the night before,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I wake up and I'm like, "What the hell? What's going on here?" I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
Oh,
the
Sue
picture
sent
of
you
you
that
and her
picture,
in
yeah.
the kitchen.
You know
Yeah.
what those
Oh, yeah,
are,
Sue.
Mike, right?
Yeah, the sour balls that your grandma had.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Your grandma's sour
And we're
balls.
going to get to that because
Yeah.
we still have a whole list of
did have
things
sour
that that's the same exact place
Yeah.
where we were standing. Not, I guess it was 5 hours later or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. But
A mess.
listen, all I've been saying, and people have been asking me, and you obviously posted something that was very nice, and people now are very sensitive to the fact that there is trauma from the fact of seeing, your dear friend's house burning down, and their kids are in your kitchen crying, and the dogs are, all that stuff. But the fact that you guys are all okay, all five of you and the dogs, is really the most significant thing that could ever happen. And the house will be better than ever, and the parties will be better than ever, and Mikey will get invited to one of them
We
along
shall
the way.
Yeah, maybe one.
One. Well, the first one's going to be the mother of all parties, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or the basement, maybe, and
Never know.
maybe some of the bagels that people have been
We're
bringing
not going to
over.
have it a P. Diddy party, though, Mike. I know that
that's-
you like that.
I'm
That's
bringing the baby
disgusting,
oil.
Evile.
Can you just tell us just an idea of approximately how many dozen bagels have been brought to the home?
Maybe 4 to 5.
It's
bagels.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like
Dozens.
everyone, like, oh, your house burned down. You want a
Here's
bagel?
bagels. Yeah, to make
And
everything
it's such
better.
a
yeah.
weird
Yeah.
correlation with the bagels and.
But people
Ernie.
came, like people were dropping. There had to be like 24 dozen boxes of Dunkin' Donuts, bags of bagels,
Ugh.
cream cheese. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So if you need anything,
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm like, I could have a little party outside, and I'll just have some of your bagels. I'm like,
Roast s'mores.
we're
Yeah,
definitely gonna have. The crazy thing is that before, obviously, this happened, I had been telling Sue, like, let's have a plan for when you come on the show, because Mikey had mentioned you coming on because of your contribution and your videos of me with my car alarm beeping and I couldn't figure it out in the street months ago. And
Remember when you had the other car and it was so loud?
my car was loud. So you earned this. You earned this invite minus before the fire.
Right. It's equivalent to like me asking the band teacher. Nino came home.
Right. Oh, that's right. Tell that story.
Nino
yeah.
came home and he's like, "Mom, I'm in the band."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Were you in the band before or after the fire?"
Yeah,
Because
right,
if
exactly.
you were in the band after the fire, then I need to call because I can't have that.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't. No, the trumpet survived. You're in the band. Like, I don't want the sympathy invite.
Yeah.
I want to touch on some of the things that we had planned to talk about before the fire. I know one of the things that I still can't quite figure out, but when I had mentioned on the air a few weeks ago that you had two deaf grandparents, for some reason, again, I don't understand why that
Both
strikes
were
you.
deaf, Mike. Both.
But yeah.
Why do you find that so? And they were deaf as young people,
Deaf.
not just
And
old.
guess
That's
what?
what I
They
was-
did have deaf accents.
They did
Right?
have a deaf accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's
You
what I
know,
was
because
trying-
I know you were very interested in if they had a deaf accent.
That's exactly what I was trying to figure out.
It's
Were they
actually
just-
called a speech impediment, but you know,
Right.
it's a deaf accent.
Yeah.
We all have accents. And
Yeah.
So-
but here, the thing was, that's what I was trying to figure out. Was were they born deaf or were they deaf at young ages?
He's so
Or
fixated on
when
this.
I
people
know.
when people get older, yeah, they lose their
Right.
hearing
No,
because
no,
they get older.
They were
So-
regular deaf.
So
Yeah,
they were regular. They
Well,
were real
Yeah.
deafs.
Real deafs.
They were.
Yeah.
I think they were real deafs. What I've been told is that
What if they told me like this? They're real
my-
deaf. Yeah, that's how they talk.
No,
right?
no, my
Yeah.
my grandmother actually used to sound like this. Give me a minute. She used to go, "Everybody thanks me, stupid." that's exactly. If my cousins were listening, they would tell you it's exactly and she would say that everyone thinks she's stupid because
Yeah.
in that era, people that
Wait,
were
so what,
deaf.
say the sentence again?
Everybody thank me, stupid.
That's so good.
And she would actually sign it. She would go, "Everybody thank me, stupid."
Oh, that's.
With conviction.
It almost sounds like
And then
Nell.
she would say,
It does, right? Yeah.
yes, like
Yeah,
Nell.
yeah.
And my mother's name is Nanette, and she would go, "Nanette, boss me." Like that, my mother. Oh, I know it all.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
that's all I was trying to get to the bottom of. Was that,
Well, yeah.
were they just deaf because they got older?
No,
Or were
they were
real-
like
they were real deaf?
so deaf that like when someone called, the lights would flash.
Okay,
You
yeah,
rang
yeah,
the
yeah,
bell,
yeah, yeah.
lights would
So
flash.
this is a cruel thing, and I talked to your sister Tina about it at one point also. Explain what would happen when you guys saw that the phone was ringing and the special TTY, I think it's
All right,
called.
so I'm 5. Who knows how to type at 5? I did because
You had to.
in 1984.
Yeah.
You had a big machine and it had like the two things, so you put the phone on it. So when
Yeah.
you would actually answer the phone, no one would be there, not an operator, nothing, dead silence. So you'd pick up the phone and you'd be like, "Fuck, Mom, Grandma's calling."
But you guys all
But
avoided
we would
it.
all avoid it, or we would just hang up because she wouldn't know we would hang up because she was deaf. So then, like, after a few times, if we didn't answer and we would keep hanging up, then we would get the next phone call that was, "Hi, this is Marcy from the bank. Yvette is here, and she just passed me a note and wants to know if you're going to pick her up on Sunday at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Oh my
And I'm like, "Well, Marcy, just write her a note back and tell her that for the last 17 years, we picked her up at 9
Right.
o'clock
Wow.
every Sunday."
This is Marcy at the bank. We're getting held up by a mute, and she's telling us about a
Don't call
pickup.
them
There's
mutes,
someone
Mark.
with
That's
a
not-
deaf,
that's not real.
Right. A deaf accent?
deaf accent.
accent.
Hey,
Now,
outside
did
the border.
did they meet each other at like a deaf school or
I
a deaf
believe they
camp?
He
met
just
each
can't
other
let
at
go
a
of this,
deaf school.
Tony.
Okay, yeah. Because
Like
I was
my
like, did they just
understanding.
Can't let go of this.
randomly meet each other
Like
at a
two
bar?
deafs?
Yeah, like two deafs.
Like,
Yeah.
hey,
randomly.
I'm deaf, you're deaf?
Yeah. Or were
No.
they in like a deaf
No,
school
I believe they were in
together?
a deaf school.
It was destiny.
Yeah. They were- My grandmother
Oh,
used
God.
to say she loved to feel the music.
I don't know how much Sue has talked about this, but at one point in her childhood, there was a grandparents' day at her school as in
terrible.
elementary
And I
school,
grew up here.
and Sue was a
Third grade.
6-year-old mortified. Everyone's
Yeah.
bringing their retired grandfather, fireman grandfather,
Veteran, because you're in Levittown.
Yeah.
Not
and
me.
then in come in the deafs. They just rolled right in.
Yeah, I remember doing like a whole show and like, you have to sing and then there's my grandmother.
Wait, no, I'm doing it.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then not only that, she didn't drive. So then after the whole thing, I had to walk her home.
Oh my goodness
You
gracious!
know, she didn't hear a car coming.
And
You know,
I bet they were salt of the earth, though. Were they not? They were wonderful people.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, she would be at the house and you didn't want to talk to her. So all our friends would, be in the room and I'd be like, my grandma's come, pretend you're sleeping.
Oh my God.
It's terrible.
That-
Terrible
that's-
people.
That's amazing. Speaking
So
of,
they were deaf your entire life.
Oh, yeah, they were deaf
you
before I was
have,
born.
you
so
have
then
some
that
sort
would
of a
mean,
mental
yeah.
disability
Yeah.
here. I don't know why you cannot get
He's
past
obsessed
this.
with
I don't
the
know
deafness.
why. They were born deaf. They
Because I
met,
don't like
they
people
had
that are
died
babies.
deaf.
I don't like people that are like, I'm deaf because I played in a rock and roll band for 40 years.
No. They
Right.
were
Yeah,
born,
they were-
lived, and died deaf.
All right, yeah, that's what I was trying to get
This
to
is
the
like
bottom of.
Trump. They're real deafs. I don't like the fake deafs. I like the real deafs.
Yeah, he wants the real ones.
Yeah.
Need the real deafs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were real
They were
deaf.
OG deafs.
OG
So,
deafs.
All right.
not only
Yeah.
did Suzanne grow up with OG deafs, but she also had a dad who was a Vietnam veteran,
Oh,
and there was
terrible.
some special accommodations that sometimes she had to make because of the fact that her dad had fought in combat.
Severe PTSD.
So
He's
let's
101st Airborne Ranger
correct
in the
yes.
Army. He was a paratrooper. So if he went to sleep, whether it be at like the Levittown pool or anything, you couldn't just tap him and wake him
yeah.
up because he would do some
Yeah,
kind of
exactly,
like choke
yeah.
and choke you out. So you'd have to get an object and throw it at
A
him.
soft object.
A soft object.
Yeah.
Because at the same moment, he would wake
Right.
up and like try to choke out
Right.
Yeah.
that object.
Right.
Sometimes we didn't tell our friends that. We were like, can you just go wake up? Your
Oh,
dad,
they
my
just
dad-
mess with the. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They're saying they're in a rear naked chokehold.
Yeah,
Dad
Dad.
is taking a nap at Acorn Lane Pool, and you
Yeah.
wake up with a shiv in your neck because you
Yeah.
try to wake
and
him
then
up.
he made my friends deaf. And they weren't born deaf.
Not real deafs. Now that's a hero. That's a real hero. But we have one in the studio. Did you know that Mark had his finger bent
Yeah,
slightly by
he
a
did.
dog?
He had a purple heart. It's in the mail.
I have a purple
He
finger,
ordered it
actually.
from Temu.
Sue also was, she grew up with 3 siblings, but her 2 oldest siblings, her sisters, were 12 and 13 years. What's the
Tina's
difference?
like 12 and a half, and
yeah.
the other one
Yeah.
is like 9.
So there's a great story that I wish Tina was here to tell. But when Sue was a little girl going to Disney World and she was
First
5
time.
years old, this was a different time where you would have leashes on kids and there were different things, and measures. And can you tell one of my favorite Nanette stories, Tina stories, is the Sue whistle story. Is one of my favorites of all time.
So my parents, my mom put a whistle on. I was 5. My sister at the time was 18.
Yeah.
She put a whistle on me. It was like, if you get lost, you just blow this whistle and we will find you. Just blow it. So now at the time, you go into Magic Kingdom, if anyone's been there, there's tracks. At the time, the tracks used to be pulled, like a cart on it, pulled by a horse, and it would go. And you're walking in, and so many people, and you're looking around. And whatever happened, I got separated from my family. So I'm standing there. I know exactly where I was even to this day. And I'm like,
She's just tweeting the little whistle.
5. I had like the haircut from the ice skater.
Right.
At the
She was
time.
Dorothy Hamill.
Yeah.
with
Dorothy
5.
Hamill
That's-
haircut?
It's
Yeah.
exactly how she looked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And instead of like a warm and loving parent coming, like
Yeah.
my mother grabbed me like, hard and was like, what's wrong with you for getting lost? And I was like, but you gave me a whistle.
gave me the whistle.
And you went ahead. Like I'm 5.
Right.
So, yeah.
So were they weren't so
I will put money down that your grandma and grandpa didn't show up when you blew the whistle.
Definitely not. Couldn't hear me.
no, they would hear that. They'd
Yeah.
be, "Oh," that's what sounds. It was blasting. They did hear that, but were they? I'm just curious. Was Nanette upset that you were just tooting the whistle, like you weren't giving a full blown, like really, really belting out a whistle, or
No, my mother loves the parade, so she was probably more annoyed
the
that I was
parade. I love
Oh
interrupting.
yeah, she was pissed. Yeah, exactly.
That I was probably, she
Yeah.
wants to be right in the front, needs to see. I probably lost her spot.
Yeah.
And I ruined it for the family in the first 5 minutes of entering Magic Kingdom.
yeah. That's just I've heard that story many times. Toot, little 5-year-old Dorothy Hamill that thought she was
And
going to go
every
skating.
picture that I look back, I mean, I don't have pictures anymore, so
Right.
if, if
We'll just
anybody finds
imagine
any.
them. No, that's actually not true because there is either Tina or Nan has posted on Facebook, so it does exist.
Okay.
Of you, it looks like they put a bowl on your head and they just cut around it,
Yeah.
and I think there's a whistle around your neck.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure, like
Whistle
a dog
while you
whistle.
work.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. you know, I was hesitant to bring up this next topic that I had jotted down because it was kind of an anti-Levittown thing, just because they've been so great. But you know, I was making notes of sometimes Suzanne's rage over the past few weeks leading up before the fire. And one of the things that got you more mad than since I've known you in 9 years was the constant flow of people in the past month posting on Levittown Moms asking where Jay's appliance went.
Oh,
it made you.
It has fired me.
I've never seen anyone get like the way he is. Hooked on the deaf grandparents.
Yeah.
That's how you were fixated about Jay's appliancing. Explain why that's such a disturbing thing
Jay's
for you.
Appliance, everybody knows, has been here forever.
50
I don't
years minimum.
remember it not
Right
being
over by
here.
Honey Baked Ham, right?
Yeah,
Next
exactly.
door, right?
You know that
Exactly.
well,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
Sure.
That's what they used to call me in college.
Yeah, okay.
Honey Baked Keegs, yeah,
So it's in that same strip, and it's Jay's Appliance.
yeah.
Now, directly next door was an old bank, 2 stories. First they painted the building black.
Black.
So you can't miss it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they put a big sign that says
Jeez,
Jay's.
it's enormous.
Yeah,
You-
exactly.
It's enormous.
Can't miss this sign.
Right.
So when someone puts on a mom's page, what's
Right.
going on with Jay's Appliance? I went to get a dishwasher.
Right.
It's not there.
This is what you'd have to do in order not to see Jay's appliance. You'd have to be there. Where's Jay's?
Yeah.
Where's the new
Yeah.
Jay's?
Yeah, it'd
You
be
have to cover
equivalent
your
to
face.
like
I was
a
gonna
deaf
say-
person listening
I-
to a record.
I was just gonna say you'd have to be your grandparents, but I'm like, oh, they're deaf, not
Deaf,
blind.
right,
I'm like,
right.
I always get blind
No,
and deaf.
they'd be
mixed
saying,
up.
"Where's Jay's?"
Yeah.
That's different. That's
I can't
different.
Where'd
hear,
he go?
I can't
Right.
hear Jay's.
Yeah, so that was up until the fire.
Like
that was
you
your
with King
biggest.
Cullen. I
Right.
mean, I'm sorry about King Cullen.
Yeah.
That,
Well, it's interesting. You know, people make light of the fact that King Cullen is gone, and it's not an inconvenience, but it's a major one for me. Today, Stacy had an after-school event, so I had to pick up dinner, and
because
usually
my house went on fire.
And exactly. And then I would usually leave work in Levittown and go right to King Cullen and pick up chop meat, whatever it was. And I had to go to the fucking King Cullen on Wanto Avenue, which is a good 3 miles away. Yeah. So
There's like
it is a
4
loss.
other
You're having a rough
supermarkets,
couple
like,
of weeks.
No, I won't go.
in 0.5
I won't go.
from your house.
I won't go.
You can't even use the parking lot as
I
an
won't.
excuse because the King Cullen parking lot is by far
Yeah.
was built by Helen Keller.
Oh
who
my
was
god!
blind
Yeah,
and
Treacherous.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
that
I miss
parking lot
it.
is terrible.
And
Like-
King Cullen.
terrible.
something
Yeah,
also
the
that
Walmart supermarket is great.
I won't go there.
Stop and
No,
shop.
that place is
Oh.
a slum. It's not good.
you don't
Something also that Sue has been on a kick for quite a while now, and I want to present this in a way that's not going to be insensitive to people, but Sue has been fixated for a long time, and I guess I'd like to know the marcation point of when you become disturbed by it. Adults with lisps have bothered you for a very long time, and again, we don't want to be insensitive to people with lisps, but at what point does it become like a cute little thing for you where a kid has a lisp because they're missing their incisor or their whatever there is, and then it just becomes a full-blown
Because
thing?
my grandparents were deaf.
That could be the trauma there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I just
Yeah.
don't understand when you're everyone talks to themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to yourself, you don't realize that you have a lisp. And I'm not talking like every now and then I get lispy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a lisp.
It bothers you.
That's a lisp is a speech impediment. A deaf is an
Right.
accent.
Okay.
I was on the phone today with somebody on customer service at work, and it was a very heavy Indian accent with a lisp, a female.
What?
Oh,
It
wow.
was the worst voice I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
I was furious talking
You
to
were
this person.
infurious?
I was gonna
Now
say
you,
Infuriated.
now
I
you
was gonna
sound
say
deaf.
I mean,
Right.
I'm furious.
Yeah.
I was gonna say infuriated and furious, and then I said
Together.
them both at the same time.
Yes.
And now I feel stupid, and thank you for pointing that out.
Right.
But it was a very heavy Indian accent with a lisp, and I was livid talking to this person. I hate when people chew on the phone.
She's a sensitive chew
Oh,
listener.
I hate-
My wife,
I hate-
Stacey, hates the chewing
I hate
too.
chewing
Yes.
to begin with, but when somebody's
Yeah.
on the phone with me
Oh, yeah.
and they're eating on the phone,
Mm.
I'll hang up.
I was just before I got here. I was sitting in not my kitchen because I don't
Yeah,
have one,
right.
but at my in-laws.
That would be a lot of mess in
right.
there right now.
And
yeah.
my mother-in-law was just eating, and I just looked at her. And she was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, your bite's off. She's like, what? I'm like, your bite. It's definitely off. That's why your crunch is so loud. But I think that's like a thing. I think that's like a disease or something, like if you're allowed
Yeah,
to,
it's
and
called
bothering you.
it's called misphonia.
Okay.
Did you just make that up?
Yeah, no, I didn't. It really is a thing. It's called misphonia.
Really?
Yeah, because I
It's
have it,
terrible.
and it drives me nuts.
It makes me bananas.
I used to work in a cubicle next to this girl, and she was the loudest chewer in the world, and I used to just throw
I didn't
stuff
know
at
that
her.
you were that. I didn't know that was such a thing for you.
Oh yeah, that's
The
my
misphonia.
thing.
Wow.
That's my thing. Two things I hate are people chewing loud and birds.
Do you hate?
Birds?
Birds. I hate birds. They just freak me out.
What about if a bird is chewing loudly near you?
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a bad thing for
Well, I mean, if he was deaf, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
That's
I wish
right.
I was deaf. Yeah, it makes me
Okay.
wish I was deaf.
you. Speaking of deaf, what if you, Mike, were experience what drives Sue nuts, which is when she's in a doctor's office. This is a thing that she's talked about for 9 years. She's complained about. She doesn't understand if she calls someone and they're in the doctor's office and they answer the phone. Go ahead.
And I'm like, okay, do you want to call me back? No, it's fine. The doctor's not here yet. Well, they're going to come in a minute. I'm just in my gown. I'm waiting for my, for them to examine me. It's okay.
Waiting for my pap smear. What is
Is
it?
everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. Can you just
Everything's
give me
fine.
a call
That's why.
back?
That's why we can talk in 10 minutes.
Well,
Right.
the doctor's going to be in a minute. I really can't talk. Then why'd you answer?
Yeah.
That's a big thing for
I
you.
hate
That's
that
a
too.
that's a pet peeve. What is it? I can't really talk.
Yeah.
Well, why'd you fucking pick up the phone?
Yeah.
I'm a very mild mannered person, but things like that just set me off and I get
Stupidity.
furious. Yeah, stupidity.
Mikey, I did not
Stupidity.
know you had a chew thing.
Chew thing is the worst for me. Yeah. That's my
Wow. I didn't realize that at all.
Yep.
I think we're going to be able to have a little treat here. One of our listeners is the very lovely, our dear friend Tina Femia, who is Sue's sister, and
What?
she's listening. And she sent me a text just now. And are you able to pop that up, Tone?
Give me a second.
Yep.
Almost ready.
We're almost ready for a special photo
Oh, boy.
that she just sent in. And honestly,
So,
the photo is up. It'll be up here in a second, right, in the big screen.
Okay.
And it couldn't be a better depiction of honestly what we talked about here. Yeah, I'll show it to you on my phone, so the viewers are watching it right now. It is. There we go. It's right
Oh,
there right
Lord.
now. Yeah, so
There's
there
the
it
whistle.
is.
Yeah.
There it
There's
is.
the whistle.
See?
So there's Tina, who was
Look at my haircut.
Tina's 17 or so at the time, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And you were 6 or 5
5 or
or
6.
whatever. And that's
The
Goofy.
world's tiniest lesbian.
And yeah, exactly.
Look at me. I have like party shoes on. Oh, yeah. And ruffled socks.
And
Thanks, Tone.
Wow, Tony.
I mean,
amazing.
that's, I guess, when the tunnels started, right?
Yeah.
but I'm
Look
just
at
saying, though,
Goofy's
like,
hand.
they,
Oh my goodness.
He's like, hey,
Yep.
but I love how they.
let me show you
like,
where those
you're-
tunnels are.
It's almost like they gave you a whistle. Like they were proud to have you in that whistle.
Yeah.
Like they were like,
Wanted me lost.
let's ditch her, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then
As
then
long
she'll
as it's
just
not
go,
during the
My
parade.
mom
toot.
also said, no, it was more like, whoo. So
Yeah.
my mom used to tell me that like my voice was so loud, so she would just let me go to the
Right.
ocean at the beach.
Right.
And everyone was like, you're not worried that, they used to call me Susie. Susie's at the ocean. No, it's fine. And she says every now and then there would be a lifeguard holding me up. Whoo, 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 because I had no parents there, per usual, and I would be lost at the beach. But they'd always find me.
That was thank you Tina Femia for doing that. I'm glad to see
Thank
that
you,
she's watching and listening. And Tony just
Probably her
just-
first time ever watching.
It might
though.
be. That's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. There's a lot of people that are watching live right now that
Yeah.
haven't watched before.
Yeah.
We're gonna reissue
You're
this
welcome.
episode tomorrow. Hey, listen. That's part of the deal here. When sometimes Mikey and I,
When you have celebrities on.
when you have celebrities on,
Yeah.
we had what was the episode we had? Was it Trent and the Drawings with Trent family?
Yeah.
And we put that up, and we had like 11,000 views on Facebook.
Yeah.
The Instagram had like 30,000. So sometimes you got to do for your show, and in this case, we had
people, and hopefully they're enjoying it.
they are enjoying it, and maybe
Too bad we
they're
don't have
hooked.
closed caption, for the deaf
For
community.
the deaf
Right.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
they could hear me ripping them apart. I do have
Please.
for Sue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I really wanted to get into like all the dumb shit that Mark does on
Oh,
your
let's
block.
talk
about it.
And, like,
Let's
how,
do it.
How do all your neighbors that must hate him? Because he's
Well,
not.
I mean-
like my favorite thing with you sending me was the thing with the car alarm. Because like Sue will send me videos
love
of
to
Mark just
yeah.
doing dumb shit around the house, trying to hang a basketball
Like,
net.
remember when he said
my
he was
God.
doing it, but he wasn't?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Johnny.
exactly. And I
And
see,
John
and I
went
see,
and did
I
it.
see your husband
Johnny.
go over and put up the
Yeah.
basketball net.
Yeah.
And Mark's like, "Yeah, I just put up my
Oh my
basketball net."
God!
for my
It took
son.
me 3 hours. It
Yeah.
was so hard. I couldn't even do it. My
Johnny
back hurts.
came over and it was heroic.
Yeah.
That's right.
Supposedly, Mark has a problem with the car alarms every morning.
Car alarms.
Yes.
Well, I always, every day Mark leaves at the same time.
That's right.
He warms the car up, whatnot. Unless, of course, like Anna's home, and then he'll take Anna's car.
Right.
So then he always throws the neighbors for a loop.
That's right.
Because they have the same car but different. But he'll do that.
When I snapped my leg trying to change the shower curtain a few years
He
ago.
did. So, that was when Max was in elementary school. Was Anna still in elementary school?
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
And he
yeah.
would bring both of them, and he was limping. I'm like, what is wrong? And he's like, I was up. I was trying to change a shower curtain, and I slipped, and it was terrible. And I think I pulled something. And then Stacy was like, no, he didn't. He fucking slipped in the bathtub. What are you talking about?
I did.
Yeah.
I slept in the bathtub.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, the neighbors actually do not hate me. They love me very much because when it comes down to it, I am a very good neighbor. Case in point here came through. And the funny thing is, though, not to toot my own
Well,
horn.
just like Juliana didn't hear me say, don't open the door.
Yeah.
I said, don't go to Mark's. And she didn't hear it.
Whatever you do, don't go to Mark's house.
it's so crazy, but so I was woken up. It was the loudest. I'll never get over this. It was the
I'm
loudest
sorry they
banging.
inconvenienced you.
It was the loudest banging ever. And when I was telling the story the next day, because again everything's about me, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was
Mark has
saying,
trauma.
I'm like, Sue was fucking banging the hell out of the door, and she's like, "Oh no, that wasn't me. That was Juliana. Juliana is about 35 pounds,
59 now. 59.
yeah, but I'm saying
she's
she's
13,
not.
she's little.
She's a little kid, and she must have used every single ounce of strength in her little body, and it's a
out
strong
fighter.
little body because she's a professional gymnast or a cheerist or whatever you
Don't
call
ever
it.
call her
Cheers.
gymnast again.
What do we call it? Cheer.
She's a cheerleader.
Cheerleader.
Also cheer.
She was smashing this door. Okay, but as I've said for people who think of me and Mark's this and that and other thing, when things like that go on, I rise.
You're the guy,
right?
Yeah.
Remember the episode years ago when your niece was running amok in Long Beach, and who'd you go to at anyone? You came to find me.
Well, because I didn't want anybody to know about it.
Well, this was actually. So, do you remember the year when Aaron Judge went fucking ape shit and won the home run contest?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there on the couch and I'm like, totally enjoying life. I have a beer on the couch watching this, and she just blasts into the house. She's like, "You're coming with me to Long Beach," and I'm like, "What about your husband or Stacy or
Useless.
anyone else here? Like, why?" She's like, "No, you're coming with me." And then we had to go on. There was a little episode with our family
Yeah.
member, and it turned out okay.
You know what?
But
We were trying to find a family member, but they couldn't hear us. They were deaf.
Do you have other deaf people in your family? Or
No,
because it's
the little
usually
one was like,
genetic, no?
well, I actually
well, aside from
went.
Sue fucking can't hear a goddamn
I
thing.
can't hear anything. I'm going
She's
for my
deaf as
November
fuck.
1st with my hearing aid.
Really?
She's
Oh,
the
yeah?
worst.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah,
She's the worst.
yeah. Now I'll be part of the disabled group, like Tony.
That's right.
I know. Can I join your club?
Well, speaking of
Yeah.
Tony, it's interesting how different people wanted to see different things tonight. And one of the things that when I posted this on Levittown Moms Group, and I usually post that the show's going to be on Levittown Moms Group every week, and there's like 2 likes, and like it's usually by people I know. And when I posted it this morning, there was instantly like 100 reactions and people commenting, and it was all nice stuff. But then towards the end of the day, a couple of people had written like, well, who is she? And I'm like, what? What do you mean, who is she? I'm like, she is a pillar of the community whose house burned down. And I'm like in this defense
I
mode.
handed out Clorox wipes during COVID.
Right. She was giving, right. So the thing
Now,
was
how did you phrase it in the group though? Did you?
No, so
say
what I
that-
said was, we booked her on September 23rd to come on October 22nd, and then her house burned down.
So
And
you,
now
you,
she's
you
coming
mentioned
on.
that in the,
I did.
in the
Yeah.
post. Yeah.
And then I don't even think, because Sue and I were very defensive about it, but people were saying like, who is she? Like, meaning like, why did you have her booked to begin with? You know?
Yeah, okay,
And I'm
gotcha.
like, then I'm like, are you guys such like huge Herschy and Keegs fans that you were expecting us like to have some sort of, not that we haven't had celebrities on, but I'm like, are you that bothered by the fact
Yeah.
that we don't have a celebrity coming on per se?
Well, maybe they just don't listen enough because they
that's
would
right.
know that
Well,
I'm
she
a
is
regular.
nominated.
They would know. They would
She's
know.
nominated for Long Island's best
I
podcast.
am.
That's
so
true. That's
I'm
true.
sure after this show, if anybody would like to go on
To
and
vote.
vote for me,
Right.
my name
Can
is
you
actually
imagine-
an option
Hold
for the
on.
Long Island podcast or whatever it is, the best of Long Island. My name is an option. So
Suzanne Galena
if
is an
everybody
option.
that's tuning
right.
in now would vote for me at least one
It's
time,
really hysterical because
it would
now
allow me to come back here.
the funny thing is now she has fodder. She can go ahead and use a clip from this. She's in a podcast.
I am.
In the podcast studio
I
of
appreciate
governors.
you.
Podcast
Thank
community.
you.
So
Yep.
if we finish second, that's going to be a real fucking disgrace. That's going to be a real disgrace.
That's
Especially
the
to
only.
someone
That's
who's
the only loss I'll
a
accept.
grandchild of deaf people.
Yeah.
She overcame so much. Deaf grandparents, a house fire.
I know everything.
Speaking of overcoming, we do have to give Tony some props. And by the way,
Oh.
Tony's had a great day today. I watched him. I want to put this out there that he's been producing shows his own this morning. Then he did from WFAN Radio. The new show is Peter Schwartz Sports Bash. Tony produced that. Did a bang-up job during some tough situations today. You had a show before this. So props to you, Tony. It's been a long day. And by the way, Peter Schwartz confessed to me on the air today when I called in that Tony was given free tickets to the Islander game tonight, and he turned them down because of our show.
Really?
Which I didn't
Wow.
even tell you before. So
thank you,
Thank
Tony.
you for that, Tony.
Well, they lost.
Well, I
so you
actually
picked,
asked Tony to be my
they
producer
lost, so you
for
picked
my
the right game.
podcast.
That's right.
Yes,
Yes,
I
he-
know
he
that.
is your producer.
Yeah.
But we should give Tony a little pop that different people
Tuesday
wanted.
nights at 9. by the
Right,
way, yeah.
right.
We should give Tony a little pop that different people wanted to hear different things
the
tonight. You know,
disables.
Max wanted to hear the story about him being, waking me up, and Tina wanted to put the picture up of Dorothy Hamill, and
They're
it
all
was
going to have an opportunity to be participants in my upcoming
in
podcast.
your show. But Nino,
That Tony's producing.
Nino,
Now
who
you
is
know all the
basically-
characters, all
Yeah.
the whack pack for Suzanne's
Nino
podcast.
Galena, who's basically like my fourth child before
Right.
mommy left the house. He said to her, "Can we see that guy's fake leg today?" So
You're going to Mark's show?
yeah,
Can
so
I come? Is the man there that
Yeah.
has a fake leg?
yeah. So
I
everyone
see it?
everyone gets their own thing, and
Right.
so kudos
Tony's
to you,
actually
Tony.
said I can take his leg home with me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
He
Very-
does have extras
Yeah.
though.
He's a nice
Such
guy.
a sharer.
I do have spares at
does
home.
have
Did you wear
Okay.
Did you wear the Mets one at all during the playoffs?
Nino's going to be in the three-legged race tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
that's
I
Tony.
wear that every day.
Tony also. That's right. He wins it every day, the three-legged race. So
I still have two, actually.
The-
if you know what I mean?
the
Hey,
thing
now.
that I wanted to close the show with, which is super important, and this has been such a wonderful hour. It went better than I could have ever anticipated. But just kind of rounding back to the beginning here, Sue. You put this out on Facebook maybe a day or so after the fire,
Correct.
and people, it really hit home. And you don't have to read the full
Okay.
5 steps of fire precaution, but I think it's really important that we're remembering here that we have a family that's well, and we have dogs that are well, and we have a house that's
Yeah.
gone. Please give a little cliff note of what you want people to do to their own homes and to secure their families and their safety, so this doesn't happen to someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like my mom did when this all happened, she went over her smoke alarms. They expired in 2000.
Okay.
So I would just like everybody, especially in October, Fire Prevention Month,
Okay.
to double check your smoke alarms. Make sure that your alarm system's also connected to the fire department,
Okay.
things like that. If you're on the second floor, know your exits. Go over your exits with your kids. Make sure, not even your kids, maybe you live with parents that are elderly. Make sure you know an exit. And not even in your own house. I could tell you when I walk in somewhere, I look around. I know how I'm getting out. Restaurant and whatnot.
ocular-
Mark's house, back door window when he has a ditty party. I had a black box.
Shut up,
Not
Mike.
to be confused
Mike, I'm
with
gonna-
a ditty party. But again, I had a black fire box.
Yeah.
just gonna go.
I want to clip this for social media, and you're laughing about black box, you fucking idiot. Okay, go ahead. Mike is like a 7-year-old.
That was after the fire.
Right. That's right. Mikey has a black box too, but has nothing important in it.
Nothing important.
Yeah.
So in my black box, I had passports, global entry, all the papers and things that, meant so much to me. I had my marriage license, so I guess I'm still married.
Yeah.
So all that was in there, safe. Get one of those. If you have any pictures and things like that, get a zip drive, upload it, make sure you have that. And like I said, just always make sure you know your exits. Talk about it with your kids.
And can I didn't know
Stop,
about
drop,
these,
and roll.
the second floor ladders. I don't know what that's about.
So Luca wasn't home. If he was home, he would not have gotten out. At all. There was no way where that fire was in his room and he was tucked in a corner. So, and the way a Levitt house is, the cape, the doors in the front, if you're on the second floor, get a fire ladder.
Yeah.
Go on Amazon. Mike spends so much money on baby oil. I'm sure you can get a second story ladder.
I could probably get a free ladder.
Right.
The money I
So
spend
you
on
just want to make sure you get a ladder, you know your exits, you know what's safe. And talk about it.
So explain to me, the fire ladders, what they drape right over the window? You
right
hook
out of
them?
the window.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to put it out a window that there's fire, but just in case.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. So, and Sue, just if anyone wants to see the full Facebook post, you can either message Sue or message me, because she wrote a really detailed description of everything that you need to do. And I know there were some people like, shit, I never thought of that. Well, now's the time to think of it. We saw that this is real. It happens, and thank goodness that everyone is safe, but there are precautions. I know I changed batteries in my smoke alarms this weekend.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, so... What?
I'm just saying, I know you change your batteries.
And I changed my batteries in Mike's black box. So, listen, we appreciate you coming on. We know it's been a whirlwind for both of us.
Mark?
Yeah.
You know what I forgot to tell you?
For both of us.
Thank you. Thanks for being a friend.
You got it, buddy. Absolutely.
Right. Thank God for Mark Hirschman.
That's right. Well, she did write a very nice post, and it was finally people were realizing that I had trauma when she said, "Be kind." And then people were texting her, "Who's fucking with Mark Hirschman? Why are they not being nice to him?" And she's like, "That's not what I meant. It just meant in general, like he went through a lot too."
My house burned down. He lost a finger. It's,
Well, no, I think I had a mild sprain. What if I had to wear like a little what are those like little
What happened to your finger? House fire.
House fire. Yeah. So thank you, Suzanne.
I saved 3 dogs and 2 people in a house fire.
All right. Before we leave, Mikey, what do you got going on? What do you want to promote?
This weekend I will be at the Comedy Works in Bristol, Pennsylvania, Friday and Saturday night with Carrie Karavis.
Wow.
Saturday night I'm producing Mike Keegan and Friends here in the Giggle Room at Governor's Comedy Club. Tickets on sale at govs.com.
Love it.
And get some tickets for that. I won't be there. I'll be in Pennsylvania, but there's a great show going on in there.
Nice. Anthony, what do you have coming on with the Magical Mystery Tour?
December 21st at McGuire's. It's a governor's show. So all right. Well, November 2nd, producing a show in the Gaga Room with Mike Pacetti and friends.
That's going to be a great show.
Staten Island show, right?
That's going to be a great show.
Staten Island, that's November 2nd. And then December 13th, we got Rick Adana and Jameson.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sue, who's...
And me and Tony will let everybody else know when our show
I was going to say...
Well, no, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Susie and the Keegs.
Yeah, that
sounds
sounds like a good idea.
Mark and the Purple Heart.
with Sue probably leading for best podcast on Long Island's Best right now, do you have anything that you want to promote other than the fact that you're getting a new double wide in front of your house?
Oh, I'm getting a double wide. It's so nice. I picked it out.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Congratulations.
It's really good.
Listen,
Congratulations.
I know. Mark's going to look right at my double wide out of his window.
Right.
Hey,
I've
now.
been doing that for 9 years. I don't even know what that means. All right. For all the people that are watching for the first time and they wanted to know who Sue was and they wanted to know who I was and Herschy and the Keegs, we hope you enjoyed this show. We do this every single week. I mean, we don't talk to fire victims every week, but we can if that's going to be our new thing. We'll do whatever we can.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys watching. I will repost this again in the morning. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Have a
Bye,
great...
everybody.
Yeah.
Sending this to Keegan.
What do we have here today, neighbor? What are you doing? What's happening? Since you have 0 athletic ability. Oh, no, this is fantastic. Can you reach? Can you reach? Can you reach? Oh, so sad. I don't know what's more amazing. The landscaping crew, Mark attempting to put up a basketball net that he has no idea what he's even looking at. Like, what's happening? No one's offering him any help whatsoever. This is just... Hey, Max! Your dad tried to do that today, but he couldn't do it. You're completely aware that he was unable to? Okay. He's trying to fix the net that is... He can't do it. I'm sure you can do it. Just don't sit on the edge of that chair. And now Herschman's wife and my husband are out there. Herschman's wife asked for help, and my husband fixed it in about 2 seconds. Look at that.